So my question for all of you is, if we were to go out and create tomorrow a wasted food corps with 1,000 core members that could go across America and help with this issue, what would be the most important things to have them do?
Wow. I think the youth of America is very much focused on the environment. And this isn't a stretch for them to want to play a role in getting this out, getting the word out, getting the message out. And I think fundamentally focusing on the environmental impacts, but also the fact that there's enough food, it's just not in the right places. And how do you get kids to be advocates to try to get change and educate not only consumers, but others that there's an opportunity here that they could play a role in.
I'll jump in. I know Sam's going to bring it home for us on this too. But one of the things that I think is really critical is that we look at ways in which, as the joke often goes, that millennials are people want to do well while doing good. That they're what I'll call practical.
What's funny about that? I ask?
There's nothing funny. But they're practical idealists in many ways, unlike the 60s generation that I came out of. And what I see is, for instance, Daily Table has a lot of volunteers. So we have paid staff, but we also have volunteers. And we'll have, every week, 40 to 50 people to come give us 4 to 6 hours a week. And they do it out of a passion of feeling engaged. And among those are kids. And in the summertime particularly, we'll have kids that come and get engaged and involved. We have a teaching kitchen that's about to open that will, again, teach kids at an early age about real food and go home and be the advocates for their families. So I think that what we need to do is look at ways in which we can hit it both from kids going bottom up of the consumer, but also coming into stores and restaurants like, why are you serving me more food than a person should eat? And starting to push back a little bit instead of just accepting it. And why is it you got all this stuff you're about to close and you're about to throw this stuff? These sorts of questions actually, I think industry responds to customers' needs and values, and you see that all the time. And I think the degree if we bottom up, I think it'd be very powerful.
Sam and Shelley.
Super quick. I mean, I think the one thing that I'm seeing on a lot of the startups that I'm working with, there's just this, dozen or dozens of startups that are basically right now we have a bunch of food that's going to go to waste and a bunch of people could use it, but the in between is both the missing piece and the hard part. And so there's a lot of businesses that are forming to try to actually connect that. I would do the search of the 20 businesses that are doing that and try to connect and volunteer, because I think the key is, I think what's so powerful about Daily Table is that trying to turn this problem into a sustainable business, a business that will go on, as opposed to if this is just some charity, that doesn't have the same staying power. And so I think the people who are trying to make a business out of this need help right now, because we're trying to figure out the models, and the models aren't there yet. And so having a force of young people helping to figure that out, I think could be an invaluable service as we sort of perfect how we could really solve this in a long-term way.
The other piece of getting kids involved is around school meal programs, because, I mean, there's so much you can do differently in a school meal program and so much that's being experimented with. And so kids awareness, and that's happened in a lot of schools where kids have pushed for vegan meals or locally grown food, or schools have a garden in the backyard, or more cooking classes for kids so they know what to do, composting at the school, monitoring school waste. And some, schools have developed share tables where if it's not a, a perishable thing, you can put your apple on a table and the next kid can come by and get it. Or just, simple things that kids can think up. And other ways to do it, checking about, does the food get reused that doesn't get eaten? Maybe it should be made into, old bread should be made into bread pudding. Or, you could really engage kids in schools, and they get very appropriately self-righteous about this stuff, which is great. Nothing like a third grader to tell you what you're doing wrong, and then to go home and tell their parents they're doing it wrong too, or to tell the school, and they're good organizers. They can turn their schools around by saying, we're the ones who eat this stuff, and we want it done differently. So.